Okay. I'd like to call to order the Avalon Special City Council meeting of Wednesday, March 25th. If we'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. And the roll call, please.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Here.
Councilmember Ponce?
Here.
Councilmember Schickling?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lavelle?
Here.
Mayor Marshall?
Here. Oral communication. This is an opportunity for people to speak on items that are not on the agenda. You will be limited to 2 minutes and no action will be taken. Seeing there is none, we will go into general business.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. Welcome, everybody. Because this is the first of 3 presentations that we're going to have regarding this, we wanted to give Council a brief, and the residents who will watch this, a brief background of where we're at in this project and really what it entails before Paddleford gets up to speak. So, as we all know, we recall this is a progressive build procurement as a progressive design build project. The delivery method, it involves this early collaboration between the city, the contractor, the architect, the engineer. The city was able to pick this method. We believe that it gives us a number of advantages, mainly that it allows the city to have higher level of budgetary control in addition to having this initial contact and through contract negotiations and the design intent as we move through this first stage to control the design process as we work through it. Council will be involved in that process also, and hopefully it will allow all of us to have a quicker project delivery. Stage 1, this is the spot that we're currently at or just about to. That being stage 1, which is the design development stage. Stage 2 being final design and construction. So we have the RFQ went out for 2 stages. Stage 1 being design development. You're going to hear tonight from the Paddleford team about how they would go about this, their ideas, their design ideas, confirmation of existing conditions. We've been able to do some cost estimating with them, project scheduling, permitting, things like that. It's a city's goal, ultimately, to have the same contract team, design build team, do stage 1 and stage 2, but having this bifurcation gives the city the option to have that off-ramp, so to speak. But we hope that we have a great relationship with whoever we pick, and we won't have to do that. So the request for qualifications that went out, we hesitated to give council that because it was a huge document, a lot of information. For tonight's presentation, it'll be presented to you as we get further down the road. Again, and we know you've all seen it, but the RFQ required all our design build teams to provide a statement of qualifications, which our city team has reviewed those general qualifications, the architect, the contractor, the engineer, as it relates to progressive design build projects of similar size, projects of this complexity in our community on the island, their understanding of this specific project, and their references. And we also asked for, fee rate proposals for both stage 1 and stage 2, and you'll hear a little bit about that tonight. So the RFQ analysis, we have 3 design build teams that submitted these statements of qualification by the deadline. As we reviewed those, we strongly believe that all of them met those minimum qualifications and then some. We're very comfortable with all 3 of these teams. Tonight's presenter will be AJ Paddleford & Sons, Inc. and their team. The staff objective as we went through this process was to determine, are these contractors qualified for the proposed scope, and we can tell you, yes, they've crossed that threshold. We've met with each design team at least, I believe, twice. We've had follow-up communication with them. We've done our internal leveling, trying to get an apples-to-apples comparison on each of these 3 proposals. And like I said, determine that all 3 have met this threshold, and all 3 are certainly qualified to be in front of City Council making this presentation tonight and then next Tuesday. So the goal tonight, just to wrap up, is that You're going to hear the presentation from the Paddleford team, get to know their potential design-build teams. We're looking for a team to award this Stage 1 contract, a team that we can work with, a team that we feel comfortable with for the design and pre-construction of this project. I believe Paddleford and all the presenters will present some design ideas and concepts, but the reality of it is that that's not what's going to drive this decision, because we will go through that design process with them. This might just be their idea of what they took from the RFQ and what they want to present. I think, you know, those design elements are important as far as what the vision is down there, but it's not as important as finding our partner that we're going to be tied to here for the next couple of years. We encourage council to ask questions. I'm sure the presenters will encourage questions from council. The public, if anybody shows up later, certainly will have the opportunity to ask questions. We have posted the project at cityofavalon.gov/Cabrillo-Mole. We have an FAQ currently up there. We will continue to add to that FAQ. So if any residents have questions, they can send them in to the website that we have up there. We'll try to consolidate those questions, get some commonality in questions, and put the answers up there so people can refer back to it, not only now, but as we continue through this project over the next several years. So if there's not any questions of really where we're at now, I'd like to let Paddleford come up and make their presentation.
Dave, if I could borrow.
And I don't know, Matt will have to switch you over. Here he goes. He's switching you over to your presence.
Great. So, Mayor and council members, good evening. My name is Brian Brock. I'm president of Trestle Companies, and so thank you for the opportunity to present this project. We have a target of about 20-25 minutes, and we're flexible based on how you guys want to go through things. We also have a target of 2 to 3 presenters, and so we've honored that. But at the same time, besides the Paddleford group, we also have our architects, so they're there for questions. As Dave mentioned, we have visuals that we can drill down into, and what I'll do is present some of the initial slides, and then we'll let Paddleford talk about some of the construction-related ideas. I'll fire through some of those slides, and then again, if you have specifics, the architect will come in. So starting off with some introductions, the team has been formed, and it includes the contract, the architect, and their sub-consultants, which has the full complement of all the different consultants we believe we need to do the project. And in the beginning, they asked a question about some of the clarifications about why do we have a project manager and a contractor, and actually, Paddleford and Trestle have done several projects together, including a recent project at the renovation to the Catalina Island Museum. And so we view the project being developed in stages where Trestle would be the lead project manager for the beginning Stage 1, and then the project would be transitioning to construction, and then their project manager would handle the construction components. None of us are going away, and all of us will be involved all along the project, but in terms of the organization, presentation, we're clearly communicating budget, schedule, and team in the process, and they're handling the day-to-day, what we call the OAC, the owner, architect, contractor meetings, and then they're taking the lead when we're actually under construction. So we see no redundancy there. This structure is intended to say that Paddleford, AJ Paddleford, is going to be the lead. The contract will be with them, and everyone will roll up underneath them from a contracting standpoint, and then we're all tied together in that sort of cascading relationship. In our proposal, we talked about our resume, and that's what's been fun. Trestle's been doing work on the island for over 8 years now, 8.5, and so we've got over 30 project numbers with the Island Company. We're doing stuff in 2 harbors. We actually just finished the Pavilion Hotel renovation. If you haven't been in there, it's beautiful. And so from those years and from the projects that we've done together, we've learned a lot of things about island logistics. Things that are happening in Descanso Beach are different things that are happening in 2 harbors. Things that are happening that are client-facing are different than happening otherwise, from the laundromat to the restaurants. And so we are thankful to have been able to experience all the different things that have built upon and helped us to prepare proposals that we believe are viable based on understanding the island. So that's the know-how that comes from a marine environment. Our architect, and actually Tim Bundy and Richard Finkel, they're the owners, and they'll be the ones working on the project. They have a lot of marine environment. There's a lot about durability. We know that's one of our focuses. We talk about a 75-year building, and it has to withstand all of the visitation and the weather and the changing and the seasonal. We know that there's first costs and secondary costs, and so ideally those secondary costs are low. So we're aware of the peak season. We know we're going to keep the project open and operational during construction. That's a key goal. And then also the temporary facilities. We're talking about things like construction fencing that really gives us a chance to brand and get excited about the project while the work's happening. So, there's some cliches about client-inclusive approach, about risk management, mitigating surprises, and disciplined communication. And these are all outlined here, but, these cliches are actually day in and day out values. And so we really pride ourselves in the documents we produce, and we feel like from project status reports to the budgets to the milestone schedules, anyone from council to staff will be able to have a fantastic executive summary format. And back to staff too, I just want to say thank you to all of them, because through the process they've been super efficient and great communicators, and from the documentation to the process, it's just been really clear, and so we're looking forward to continuing that. And I'm not telling you something you don't already know. And the objectives have been echoed about the budget, the functionality, that it's maintainable, the durability that I mentioned, and then safety and the visitor experience. And so that's the stuff that we're going to plan. And actually, that's a proactive planning process. That's not something that happens by accident. It happens by the documents and the different functions of the construction process that happen day one, from safety to all the staff and their transportation. So the sequencing plan, as I mentioned, will be that the ferries will be operational during construction. So we talk about a laydown plan, we talk about a staging plan, and that's gone, we've had conversations about that already, which is how can we, basically, those who have been to the island will know, those who haven't will maybe wonder what's going on, but they're going to arrive and they're going to be able to visit, and that won't change. So I'm going to bring up Jacob from Paddleford. He's going to tell you about the company and how we're looking at some of the numbers. That middle button.
So basically, Paddleford's been working with the city and some of the outside consultants since 2021 on this project. I've probably put 6 or 7 budgets in on this project based off of Michael Thomas's initial designs back in 2021 through the initial Hart and Howerton, where it was a 2-story structure. So we've kind of slowly been evolving our budgets on this project since then. Initially, this project, we kind of had it as a wood frame structure, but in our conversations with the MOL team, the emphasis has been more on the 75-year low-maintenance structure as kind of the emphasis of what the goal is for the project. So we kind of scrapped our idea with the wood-framed budget, which we submitted initially, kind of went back to the drawing board with our trusted subcontractors, and came up with more of a steel structure, as that was the second budget that we did. And then we've also put together one based off of our conversations internally that includes more of an actual CMU block building, which we think is actually probably the way we're going to go. So right now, the idea at this point in time is to, if we award the contract, we're going to kind of start with a majority CMU structure with metal stud and structural steel elements to create the roof structure and outer concourses. This kind of meets all of the requirements and requests from the city and the project team. It does kind of increase the overall project duration compared to the wood, but it also extends the lifespan of the actual structure. A couple of the other ideas that we were looking at was the option of the second phase of the project with the South Concourse. That is a way, right now our budget actually includes that in it, but that is a way, if we take that out, we can still kind of bring it back underneath budget. You're just not getting the entirety of the structure.
I'm not sure what the South Concourse is.
So it's which,
Or you'll show it to us later when we go?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, we have a slide where it shows
Okay,
it
excellent.
coming in and out. So this is, yeah, so the expansion opportunity is the far right-hand side. And I believe it just,
It's closest towards town, as you're heading towards town.
Oh, okay, okay.
Did you want to go back to those numbers and those options?
yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, you need to.
So our initial stage 1 design service, which basically gets us all the way through a permitted set of plans, was at $842,409. And then we had the 3 different options for stage 2, which was the wood frame structure, the steel structure, and the masonry structure. As you can see, there is a little bit of a premium on the steel and the masonry. It's minimal dollars, but it's the 2 to 3 extra months that the project would take is the kind of, I guess, more of the issue with that. And then right now, currently, all of those numbers that you see above there include the added expansion south concourse in it. So if elected to not put that as part of the project, there would be about $1 million savings there. Okay.
Can I just ask on that budget what the contingency, if there's a contingency space for emergency spending included in this, or what the percentage is for that?
The city's carrying the contingencies.
Okay, thank you.
Before we get into the design and visuals, I want to maybe invite Brandon up. Do you want to talk a little bit about Paddleford and the family and history that we talked about earlier today?
My name's Brandon. I've been full-time employed at A.J. Paddleford & Son since 1987. Did not have much of a choice. My great-grandfather, also Jacob's great-grandfather, started the company in 1934. So, yeah, we don't build things to, make a bunch of money and run. And everything we do is pretty much word of mouth. We don't advertise really. When we build something, you get a principal that works on it as a project manager, so to speak. So I would be personally involved in this as I was in Vaughn's, as I was in the museum. Jacob's the lead estimator, so he provides all the numbers and whatnot, and then my brother would do any admin work if there were plan changes, things like that need to be done. My sister and his mother are in the accounting department, so it's a family thing. I really don't know what else there is to say about that, but that's just what we
Located
do.
out.
I think it's important when you think about it. There are people that do sales, and there's people that are going to work on the project, and these are the people
Right,
that are
we
going to
don't
work on
turn
the
it
project.
over to somebody else to do.
And how many people said you're never going to finish that Vaughn's on that schedule, and you did, right?
Everybody.
Everybody, right? So there's the proof is there. So again, just kind of looking at the way the site lays out, the different definitions and keynotes are here on the slide that talk about the components between the plaza and the docks and the concourse and the different harbor department and the rotunda in the middle. The renderings came from the original Hart-Howerton design, which you are familiar with, kind of a Spanish colonial, and then with, as was explained, there was a scaling back, kind of a value engineering, which brought the level down, and the diagram for the site remains. We believe we'll be able to achieve some of the similar aesthetic, but basically it's a scaled back version, which we feel is appropriate. So again, we know from the earlier presentation that the design process is going to be ongoing, and we'll have the ability to, in the initial stages, look at things like materials. We'll look at some of the construction methodologies and the different aesthetics and appearance. But again, this is the architect's vision for that sort of Spanish colonial look, the tower in the middle being kind of a knuckle, and then the concourses in either direction spanning out with the colonnades. This is an aerial view that shows the different ferry boat positions, and you can see the plaza in the middle. And this is a view that was actually requested from staff coming back from Pebbly Beach as you approach, and you can see basically the backside and what currently exists with the drop-off of the vehicles and the casino in the distance. Close up on that with regard to the approach. And then along the terminal, the walking promenade, you'll start to see some of the articulation that we're going to go through, which are just ideas. You know, we know about Catalina pottery, and we know about, you know, a lot of the glazed tiles that we have, and that's very much part of the vernacular. And so this was just a representation. It might not be the exact look or placement of the tile on these porticos, but that's the reference to that. And so, as Jacob talked about, there was a value engineering discussion that staff provided, which is that $1 million savings. Because Jacob mentioned some of the earlier value engineering cost budgeting exercises and has evolved over the last 5 years, they feel really comfortable about some of the ways they're looking at numbers, and this is just one such option, which is to build that last portion, the south concourse, basically defer it. And we know that there's economies of scale during the first round of construction. If you build it later, it's going to be more expensive, but those are things that we're trying to do in terms of being nimble and flexible in terms of our approach. So coming from town, this is what we all know when we're running late for the boat. But right now we're going to have a nice feature, which is shade and protected. And the architect has, even in these early stages, used some of the technology that we have in terms of solid models and renderings to show some options. And so we're able to look at stuff real time. It's the same process that we're going to go through with staff and others during the design process so that we can quickly see the different design alternates. In this case, we originally envisioned kind of an open truss wood exposed system. We know we have elements, issues, maybe it's a nesting of birds. And so when we look about long-term maintenance, there's another issue basically where the truss may be prefabricated for time and fabrication savings, but then we plaster that in. Some of the design alternates include the colonnade posts. And so some of the things when Jacob was talking about CMU, if you guys are familiar with concrete masonry units or poured-in-place concrete or maybe even skim plaster on precision block, those are things that we'll look at. But in all cases, we've looked at tidal surge, and everything will be waterproof, even including a curb to the base of the columns and the buildings. So the tile will be basically applique to the building itself. In this case, it's just the same colonnade posts with the tile omitted. And then we even have the option as we look at interlocking pavers and different flooring surfaces. And then I guess just going back to that other slide to look at one more time too, if you guys are familiar with GFRC, which is basically a glass fiber reinforced column, we can get a sort of ornate, round shape to the columns and with something that's also durable and basically just wraps those bases. So there's the plaza view, and again, an aerial, and right now, with the new amenities that are going to be there in terms of food, et cetera, we can envision people actually hanging out there, possible sales and place where people would spend time either greeting people that come where it seems currently there's no escape from the shade, people just quick come, go, and so now we're going to actually create something that has a sense of place. And arriving, we deemed this, and the architects prepared this view as really kind of an image that we feel will be an icon. There's a relationship between the casino and its lantern and this little piece as well, which will start to create this sense of anchoring the harbor. And actually, I hit that too fast, but this slide itself actually zooms in. And we actually added a clock. That's not in the program, but you know, if anyone's running late, the phone's not working, don't miss the boat. This is something that just we offered. That was an idea of the team, and the architect adeptly prepared, which was there's a neat opportunity for selfies and everyone really realizing the history of Cabrillo and that point. And so an opportunity really that could be included in the project, I think at a low value and involving the community. And so there's the history of Cabrillo himself and the concept of a plaque and then also that tile from local craftspeople. So I think there's going to be things like that. You know, we walked and saw the time capsule that was on display that was going to be opened up in 2086, if I'm, is 87? So,
I was the one who put that in there, and I don't know why I did 100 years. That was really stupid.
you know what I thought about that, Mary Ann, is that if we scrape off the 8 and make it a 3, then maybe 37.
Let's get it over with.
So we could do that. So we thought about retaining some of that stuff. There's a story. This whole island has a story, and there's icons like that that we hope to leverage. So the plaque, even if you were to look at it, you would see some of the history that we've done research on. So quickly, we'll just go through a little bit more of resume items that the architect team has a lot of experience with marine environment, as I shared, but also high-touch, heavy visitation facilities, including restrooms. And so there's a lot that goes into that design. It's not just slapping porcelain on the floor. It's about what's a wall-hung toilet, what's fixtures that have zero maintenance, how do we handle an access wall, what is it like to clean, to mop, how long will things last? And so that experience will be brought to bear. And this has been exercised on different projects they've already built. So that's the wall mounted for cleaning, that's the plumbing chase for access to materials and internal drains to handle water and wash down, vandal resistant. So while it's going to be beautiful, we're targeting maintenance and being very aware of that. That's a project in Orange County, Wild Rivers, that they completed, and there's a lot to be said for that layout. Things that we take for granted, they would consider themselves subject matter experts. The vandal resistance, locking at night, ticketing, and so that's a component of this as well. So we have a video, and we can show that, and I think it's about a minute long if you'd like. So as I mentioned, these 3D modeling tools are going to be a great part of the process to get to visualize things as they're being developed. As we're changing the arrangement, some of the materials, some of the views, that's going to be hand in hand through the design process. And all along the way, we'll be able to work as a team to weigh pros and cons of things.
And you flattened out where the garden is now, or where the trees are now, whatever. Those will all be gone, and you will be flattening that surface.
That's what I understand from the grading plan. But the great part, we were actually just talking about Bob in terms of certified pad, landscaping, the materials that are important, the paving, the ADA access, that we'll have the ability to correct some of the things in terms of drainage and maintenance and how that's used.
No, but that just gives a lot more space for all the pedestrians and everything,
Yes.
for sure.
So again, the architects are here for question and answer. The contracts are here for question and answer. And again, we just appreciate the opportunity to walk through this with you.
I have a question. One of the things we were talking about was when people come, they stop and they want to know what to do and that kind of thing. And we were thinking about what kind of new electronic system, and where would that be that doesn't get everybody cluttered, but where they could go in and, find out where the hotel is, what's to do, because that's the first thing they're going to ask. So is there some space for some kind of electronic display board? You could probably describe it even better than I, Lisa, but, and where something like that be?
Well, I guess if we went back to the aerial, we kind of look at that, what I call the knuckle, but it's the tower. I'd say that kind of your eye's going to go to that. Everyone should know where the front door is. And pinwheeling off to the left, you're going to have some of the amenities, such as the gift shop. To the right, you're going to have some of the services, admin, even the harbor master, and the concourses. And so if I'm king for a day, I'd probably go there. I think that's where people go because of the tower. But with, again, technology between flat panel displays, RF readers, kiosks, some of those things can be additive. And so as the team starts to work with staff and then also user groups and also the ferry providers, there may be new technologies that we're not aware of. I mean, everyone is basically using their Apple Wallet or otherwise to scan their phone. And so we also know even back in Long Beach there are excursion opportunities and there's salespeople on the boats. And so I think there's going to be a continual thread, and technology will only improve that.
So in your fly around on the back of the building, there was that big wide open space and it looked like there was a bunch of cars there. Is that seriously going to be parking or is that, what is that? Is that just for deliveries or can people park there?
No, that was actually removed as part of the Stage 0 process, was the refurbishment of that, but that part of the project was eliminated as cost reduction.
Dang, that's a drag.
But that back area is still there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the thought was that if an ambulance needed to get,
For a quick clarification, so what he's referring to is our Stage 0 wharf infill project. That project's underway right now, and what that's doing is it's closing up the holes that were used for when the old steamships used to come up the island. In our design intent documents that we provided to them, that they based their renderings off of, that area will be a parking, loading, unloading area. So that it is,
So it's basically going to remain about the same size that it is right now. We're just losing the grates and the thing.
It'll be
No, the
slightly-
grates will still be there, right?
the grates will still be like there, but
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
be,
the two things going down, those will be gone, but
you'll be able to drive across the top of everything.
but we're not adding any kind of additional parking.
There will be parking back there, yes.
There'll be more space because the building will be closer to the water on the front side, which will open up more space in the back side.
How many spaces?
Loops, right? 2 loops.
And we got all kinds of design details coming, but just to answer the question quickly, we're infilling where the baggage handling ramps are. That's being done right now. So there's going to be more deck space on there. It's going to be grates. We expect it to be low-weight vehicles, golf carts. It's not going to be large vehicles that'll be allowed back there. They'll have another location. Our seaplane ramp is another whole phase, so just think that's not included in the work that we're doing with this Phase 2 work. But back behind the building, we're taking care of that right now on top of the wharf. So the project for Phase 2 is off the wharf, okay? So the wharf being, that part over the ocean.
So the parking that's going to be back there is going to be short-term, pretty much like what we have out there now, like an hour or whatever, I'm just thinking about mitigating the Lower Clarissa and all that stuff, the people that go over town and park in front of people's places for 2-3 days. Just looking to see if we can, find some way to make some more parking out there for that kind of stuff, and if need be, guess what? We can charge. So, you want to park there for 2-3 days? It's going to cost you $18 a day or $25 a day or whatever, something like that. So if we can kind of keep that in our back pocket while we're looking
Yeah.
at that
So more
back
to-
area?
Yeah, more to come on that when we get into design.
I guess I'm also wondering, is there going to be space for loading and unloading for Blue Line as well as the deli?
Yes, that'll all be incorporated within that traffic scenario in the initial program that we had in the design intent. And there will be a space for the baggage handling also back there. It'll be very efficient. And we'll roll that out again, because we already rolled that out with the design intent, but we'll bring that to the community and to council when we start having the team on and we go through those designs.
Okay, and then, wait a sec, where would then be the staging for discovery tours and all that stuff? Is it kind of in the same, so that boat ramp that's like completely broken apart, is that still going to be on an angle? We're just going to fix that up and it's just, because the tide rises and falls, so that's not a usable space really, or what are we doing there?
So I believe the boat ramp will be put back in place the way it is right now until it changes. As far as the other recreation, the tour vehicles, will work on a spot where that is, because we have some other opportunities you'll see roll out that we're even doing on Pebbly Beach Road. Maybe they could even become longer term so that we're using all that real estate all the time to the highest and best use. Okay?
All right, cool, thanks.
that's like what you're setting up on the temporary basis when you're talking about the parking on Pebbly Beach, right? How you kind of laid that out to us?
That's correct. We are actually putting another deck space to be able to bring our taxis up top during this project, so they're not interfering with the golf cart tournament, because of the work zone area is really going to constrict our drop-off area So we want to be able to still continue what people are used to with the golf carts, but we got to take the larger vehicles and the taxis and put them someplace else. That's what we presented before that with that temporary facilities.
And we plan to temporarily move during construction the tour vehicles to near the tour plaza on Catalina, along there where all the other tour vehicles are. And we're hoping that that works out well for them. So afterwards, you know, they'll want to continue that, because most of those are being sold or discharged from the pier, and it's easy to go right down to the pier, get on the tour vehicle and go. So that's where it'll be during construction, because we need that space, and we hope that that works out well.
Okay.
A question on the 14 projects that you have listed from the Avalon and Two Harbors specific projects. Was just wondering how many of those ended up on time and under budget versus over budget? Well, because that's part of what we're vetting, right? So just asking.
Let me go back.
Great question.
So how I can answer that is that,
That one, yeah.
we can start talking about on budget, under budget, under budget, and on time.
Okay.
So Pavilion Hotel that we just completed, under budget, and it had to open up by high season, and it just opened up last week, so there's that, so good for that. Zip line on time, Blue Water Grill on time, Beer Garden, if you know, replaced the golf cart on time. Fuel Dock Cafe had some issues. We worked on it, and we completed our portion of the requirement. Catalina Museum on time. We had a scope that was actually removed from the project, which was the adjacent lot. Restaurant on time. Helicopter had to deal with the FAA, still in process, and the Roundhouse. But I guess how I'd answer your question, I appreciate that, right? Because it's great to say, hey, here's the resume. But I guess what I'd say to that is we probably had 30 project numbers with the Island Company. Trestle has some that have joined with Paddleford and BFA, and we're still working, right?
Yeah,
so if they
right.
hired us first in 2017 and we're working there 9 years later, I think that says something.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. When it says the city carries it, so I thought we had maybe $22 million for the project, something like that?
We are, I mean, we're still obviously working on our budget. We do have, you know, the contingency that we're looking at for this project, because we feel it's significant. So we have to carve out enough of that. You know, even a $20 million project, the $2 million is only 10%. So it's going to go fast. So really between design, construction, and where we're at in order to get this finished, yeah, we're going to be right around there.
Matt will watch it.
Yeah.
How long are we looking at for this project?
How long?
Yeah.
2 years.
What was your guess?
The initial request was 12 months, but with the CMU steel, we're looking more like 14-month range.
Wow.
The good thing about it, though, is that if the design goes as planned with a start date, we're basically only going through one peak season. We'd be finishing this back into slow season around September, October. So that's I guess one plus of it.
When you talk about permitting, besides like the city permits, what other permitting do you have to do?
That's really it, that we were just told that it was going to be basically expedited through the city. So there was no,
You don't have to go to the SEQR, all those agencies, we're already done with them? Because those are the ones that slow things down.
We took care of all that.
Excellent.
We're ready to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bob. And Devin, and.
I appreciate having the 3 different options for the material types. I think you're right that the masonry wall construction makes the most sense, even with the longer build schedule. I think it's something we don't want to scrimp on to save a little bit for the sake of over time being able to maintain it. So That makes a ton of sense. And I appreciate, I was a little sad when we had to lose the budgeted second story of the building, but the way that you guys have laid out the design looks really wonderful. So thank you for maintaining a lot of the initial design elements that we were hoping to see. I know that's not what we're discussing necessarily today, but it's appreciated to see it look classic and look like it fits into a space that it could be there for a long time. It looks like it's been there for a long time, so.
I think at least from our team's perspective, we were trying to still give you some sort of iconic look that everyone here and along with our team will be proud of, you know, that when we produce it.
Are they Adobe tiles on top, or what would be this, like, top?
So there was one depiction in the Hart and Howerton one that actually kind of showed it as standing seam, but we kind of stuck with there was one comment that said that it was supposed to be Spanish colonial, so right now it is technically clay tile roof structure. But obviously that's completely open to you if you want to, you know, look at other options as well.
I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit emotional because growing up here, that mole pier it's all we've known. And, you know, and just to know that at least me personally, I'm a part of this decision is huge. And I truly appreciate not only the long list of resume that you guys already done on the island, but knowing that you're gonna take care of it, right? There's care behind it. And as an islander and someone that grew up here, that matters. So thank you.
Yeah. Richard literally has been emailing us like on the weekends at like 10 o'clock at night, and he's still playing around with the model, adding people and trees and stuff. So this is a very exciting project for us as well. We're very excited and thankful for this opportunity that we've made it this far.
Thank you, guys.
I was thinking you were talking about the rounded column versus the square columns, and I don't know if I have a feeling one way or the other, but if we ever wanted to do public art, what would be better, if they were round or if they were square? Just don't need to answer.
More to come.
And in one of those columns, we can put the time capsule.
We already talked about this.
Okay, if you were sitting here, what questions would you ask?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, when can we start?
Okay, well, it looks like you just started over. Okay.
Mayor, I can tell you, one of the questions that was asked of this team, I think either Bob or Mark asked is, you know, what confidence level do you have to deliver this project, to deliver it on time and on budget, knowing what you know and knowing what they know about working on the island. So, you know, that if you'd want to take a minute, I'm not sure who answered that before when that was asked, but, you know, just a confidence level of where you're at, you know, of what you've seen, of what you think you can do as far as delivering this project on time, on budget.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to the one slide we had, I mean, just kind of with the projected schedule of this project, we're going to be kind of procuring products towards the end of the year. There's always natural increases with a lot of the suppliers on January 1st, so getting things ordered in October, November, and then either storing them here or having the subcontractors use their yards to store them, and then we usually give like photo documentation that it is actually purchased and in our possession. That's one big part of it. But I mean, you know, as of, you know, today with the current, you know, situations going on around the world, you know, like fuel, you know, there's certain things that are kind of out of our control. But we always try to do our best to keep your interest, you know, at the forefront. So anytime we hear something's coming up, you know, if it's something that we have not locked in, we will make sure that that's priority one to get that locked in as soon as possible so there aren't any increases.
So in phase two, it's assuming you have phase two, how many people do you think you would be hiring at any one time?
So Paddleford is purely just a general contractor, so we subcontract out 100% of the work.
Do you know how many people that would actually be on any given day?
On this specific project, you'd have between 25 and 30 subcontractor companies, and then, depending on what phase of the project, 5 to 6 guys per crew. So I would say probably 20 to 30 people working at any given time. That's probably a fair estimate.
And most of the projects you've done is with the Island Company, with the exception of the museum and Vons.
Those were our 2 major projects, yes.
So I'm concerned with housing. I mean, the housing costs are very expensive. I imagine correct me if I'm wrong, when you work for the Island Company, some of those people were able to stay in some of their housing, which probably kept the cost down. But with us, I'm just wondering how that works. And you got somebody backing you up.
Stay here. No, yeah, about half stayed and half went home. It really depends on where they live on the mainland, right? And how long it takes them once the boat gets home at 4. If that's another 3 hours, then they stayed. And we didn't have a hard time finding places to stay here, but maybe it'll be different this time. I'm not sure, but we had some.
I'm somewhat concerned because, again, you
We
were
had some
working with
help
the
from
Island
the
Company.
city as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have places to put people, but the Island Company had their casitas and all of that. And they, when they were doing the pavilion, a lot of those guys were staying in the casitas, and we don't have the luxury of that. So, and the housing is pretty expensive, so I'm just.
It is. I mean,
about
we
your
account for the
budget.
expense of it.
Whoever the finance guy is, I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially when we were doing the Vons, everyone was pretty much staying in the hotels on island.
Whether it's the Hermosa or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is construction, but is it like highly specialized? I mean, would you consider hiring locals to help with some of the work?
Well, the majority of the initial phase will be mainly done by Jordahl, so that would be your local. A lot of the other companies would be coming from off island.
But no, we're not opposed to, if there are iron workers or carpenters or we're not opposed to hiring, putting anybody to work over here, for sure.
And your demo, all the stuff you demo will be barged off the island? Not going in our landfill?
So that was kind of a 50-50 on our projects we've done prior. Sometimes the dump took it when they were full, then we would haul it off. So it's kind of priced right now to cover both directions.
We can do either way.
I just know
We
we're
would
having
be
our landfill
outside
issue.
trailers and then we fill them and they go away.
Like Mike's doing on the Beacon project. Okay.
I know with those buildings being a majority slump stone, Jim might actually want it to crush it and reuse it. So that's also an option as well.
Well, yeah, that's what Jacob just said. Yeah, we can crush some of the material and use it for base. Jim can.
So you've worked with Jordan before, no doubt?
Oh, yes.
Yes, oh, yes.
Yeah, I have his hotline phone number right here.
I bet you do. Having a beer right after this meeting. Okay, any other questions or comments?
We have the opportunity as well at Avalon Freight to store things. I have a pretty good, I've been talking to Abel over there already, and we don't even have the job yet, so we're prepared to do whatever we need to do to keep costs down and keep the job moving.
The only other thing I can think of that would make the project run behind would be gnarly weather, because, Vons was inland, but this is right on the ocean. So let's just pray that we don't get any really bad gnarly weather. None of those weird south swells that come and wipe everything out.
Well, they're used to that.
Right.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add? Okay.
Can't think of anything.
That was great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
It feels so real.
Thank you.
Enjoy your stay.
I want to work.
I mean, for these pages, it's,
Yeah.
I know, so I
They're
think
pretty.
most architectural firms usually have it. I got, yes, I got one. Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. When you get the project, you have any questions, concerns, problems, you can call me 24/7.
I will not. My city manager would be all over me. No way. I run everything through him before I embarrass myself.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
We're just gonna, one of the councilmen have left the building, or left part of the building,
Yeah,
so she'll be back in.
that sounds good. Just getting everything loaded up here.
Gotta look to see how many papers you have.
It's a hot mess.
That's why Michael's not talking. He sounds worse than I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah.
So you two coughing, somebody there, Mary let out a cough, I think, once, we're in great shape.
Oh, that one time, oh my God.
Jordan used to bring these home after stuff.
What's that?
Jordan used to bring these home after stuff to the kids to draw on. But so these are birthday poster size. Like these are ideal birthday poster reusable size. You just make them for yourself. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The elbow.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Ready to roll?
We're ready to roll.
Okay. Good evening. Second item here. This item considers issuing a request for proposals to construct permanent improvements in the area known as the Elbow. This is the roadway and walkway area from Clarissa intersection through the sharp elbow curve at Crescent until it turns into Pebbly Beach Road. So, and a lot of this, I know that council and everybody in the room knows about the elbow, but I'm also presenting, so for the record, and anybody at home that's listening in. Okay, so.
That's it.
All right. As you know, the Elbow is the first entrance into town after the mole. What's unique is that the main roadway that moves goods and people through the town also travels through this area. So, you know, our major road classification is a major collector, which is anywhere in the mainland is kind of just a boulevard, okay? But we consider that as our arterial. It's not a freeway, but it is the main mover of goods and services to this town, and it is very important to keep your eye on that as we're doing improvements here. We need the vehicular traffic to run through this segment on a very efficient but slow speed, and it needs to keep moving, okay, so that we keep those goods and services moving through. So we also have a very walkable community, and the PED mode is even a larger part of this system, because when you get off the boat, you have left your car behind if you're a visitor, or if you are an islander, you may have your car, your cart at home. But, we're walking through this corridor. So since the speeds are slow, the bikes also share the road, and the PED mode is very accentuated here, so it's a large part of this. But, so the bikes share the road with the cars when we develop this system. So we also need convenient areas to cross this roadway where conflicts are expected so that we can enhance safety at those spots where those conflicts occur. So what we want in those conflict areas, expected, repeatable events, not random events. And that's what was happening before we put the demo in place. So at the Clarissa and Crescent intersection, you have a crosswalk there. When you stop there, you expect some crossings. In the middle of the segment, you expect some crossings at the other end. So that's where we want to somewhat force people to do that and not cross randomly. It makes it safer, and everybody has their space then. Okay, so in these photos that we are in front of you here, this was before we did the demo, because what we did is, out of the ATP plan, we identified this project as having some problems, and there were some solutions. And so we wanted to put a demonstration project out there, because sometimes back in the past, people would build something and it wouldn't work very good. So that's why we do a demonstration project. Our demonstration project has been quite long, which is good, because at this point, people, as we roll out maybe some permanent improvements, people have grown to like some of those, or they think they work efficiently. They're not hard to sell. So we developed that plan to correct these issues using the complete streets approach. This is where you make all modes equally important and develop a system that safely and efficiently accommodates all modes in that system. To test this, we developed the demonstration project, and these are the photos of prior to the demonstration. So you see the photo on the left there. Well, left and right. PEDs are using the narrow sidewalk in front of the businesses, and it is not wide enough for a large group. And we do have a lot of large groups that want to walk side by side, their families. And so what happened, they were spilling into the street. And so they were forced into the street. And once they spilled in the street, and then they would find their way maybe across the road randomly. See the photo on the left, once the PEDs spill into the street, it becomes an unsafe condition, especially since we have the rental golf cart facility right in the corner down there. Somebody's getting into a golf cart that may never have driven one before, and then we have somebody that's maybe talking to a family member or has young children, and they're finding their way in this mass kind of cattle drive through there. And so we could have, very unsafe conditions. The progression of the vehicles and the systems breaks down, and then congestion quickly develops, especially on Clarissa. You'll see that. It only takes about 15 seconds, and then all of a sudden one vehicle's there. And then they wait, and now we've got 6 vehicles there. For that to clear, it takes a little bit of time. And then that sense of place, that walkable community that we're trying to create, that breaks down, and you have vehicles now sitting in the road, maybe idling, making noise, and now we don't really have what we want. So that we need to move those vehicles through there slowly, but we need to keep them on their path. And by having the PEDs not enter in the roadway and slowing them down, I think that will make this a better sense of place. And then also on the right, you have the parked vehicles. They stay there all day. They were doing that for convenience and not need. There was one ADA spot, but for the most part, that was employees are in those businesses. It wasn't somebody visiting restaurants or whatever. They were employees, and they were parked there. That's not a very good use of this very valuable real estate. There really should be PED space, but if we needed to make it a parking space, it should be a very special parking space that was needed. Okay. So the photo on the left, this is more before. Large vehicles need ample space during the day to make the turns at Clarissa and Crescent intersection. And you see the bus there, and you see the other large truck. They barely make it past each other. And we've noted that there's problems at that corner intersection, and you can even see the marks on the wall. The wall's been hit several times, but you can even see currently there's a nice big old scrape in it, and that was just painted, within the last few years. And you can see that they're still having problems trying to get through there, and we've addressed that. So And again, that leads to congestion problem at Clarissa and Crescent. And then the photo on the right, you can see this is before we had the barricades in front of the trailhead there. And randomly, that even made it even more random. We know that, as they come out around that circle there, they could come out to the right or the left of it. They could park there, load people. That just did not make a very expected, like I say, where it's that safe, that expectations of where somebody's going to be for those conflicts. So what did we do? Came to council, and then we said we were going to do a demo project, and we installed traffic calming enhancements. And those included expanded the crosswalk at the intersection of Clarissa and Crescent. That's the pizza-shaped pizza slice. Expanded the walkway in front of the businesses along Crescent. That was the using the plywood and also the barrier rail. We tried that, and that added 2 feet. Eliminated the 4 parking spots that we saw in front of the Pancake Cottage. We added crosswalks from the walkway along Pebbly Beach Road to the businesses because that's more direct access. That's where people wanted to go. They always say that don't go build your sidewalks first if you're building a park. Let the grass get back to dirt. That's where people want to go, and that probably will give you your best indication of where you should put your sidewalks. And then also we placed the barricade at the edge of the walkways to encourage pedestrians to use safe spaces and create repeatable areas of potential conflict. Okay, so this is what it looked like during the demo. You can see the barricades. I'm surprised that they survived as long as they did. It was meant for something that was like 3 months, and then city manager said, he wanted something more permanent there, and so we came up with the second alternative with a rope design, which much better looking and much more durable. And you can see also, the widened plywood sidewalk there, so it gave us that feel of what 2 feet would do. This was, at least a visual of the fire truck still being pinched. We wanted to see what we needed to do with that circle, so we pulled the fire truck up there to show what happens when we put a large vehicle there. You can see the diagonal crosswalk there before we finished striping it. And you see that, the new crossing there and what it looked like when we first laid it out. And you see people using it. And then this is our proposed scope of work. Okay, so we would remove the wood walkway, and I got renderings here coming up, so just go through the list first. Remove the wood walkway installed and expand the sidewalk in front of the businesses along Crescent and replacing it with concrete and pavers. So we'll move that curb permanently out. And we're proposing to move that another foot additionally. We have that. So instead of the 2 feet, now we'll have 3 extra feet. And so, because it still seemed like we were a little pinched on that side, and we looked for space around that we could utilize. Remember, the highest and best use of real estate, we needed more space on that side next to the businesses. We needed 26 feet, 13 feet times 2 for the vehicles to travel, and that's really in an arterial, that's perfect sizing for that. And then we can start that's the other pedestrian walkway, which has a wall involved, and it also has a zero curb. So a zero curb, when I talk about that, that's flush with the road. The other curb on the business side, it's a variable. It goes from 0 to half a foot, so whatever's needed for the drainage.
So I'm sorry, Bob, so the 3 feet that you're putting on going to make that sidewalk, adding the extra foot. So if I'm coming around and trying to get onto Pebbly Beach and then I'm trying to get onto Clarissa and I'm 2 big rigs, they both couldn't pass at the same time. One would have to go start and stop.
Great question. And I've even got simulations here to show you. Let's get through the list here just so we can click through it. Removing the wall at Crescent Avenue and Clarissa. So this is not the original serpentine wall. It was the wall that was added that keeps on getting hit. And it always can be replaced in the future once we decide what all the barriers are going to be. But right now, with this project, we're trying to put curb, gutter, pavers back in and put a barricade back in as a first step, because we're trying to do this as pay as we go. Okay, so just think about phasing of all these improvements. Relocating the curb along the water side of Crescent Avenue to improve the turning radius for vehicles. That was an answer to your question. Construct new pavers along toward the seawall side of South Beach. So you'll see this in a minute, but by the seaplane, not by the seaplane ramp, the other ramp, the little old boat ramp there, and where all of the recreation kayaks are there stored on the beach. There, we think that we can widen out that area and make a better use for some of that for more pedestrian space. And then reinstall the temporary rope barrier system, okay? That's what we think we can accomplish, you know. So So this is the design vehicle. What we picked, you can see in that left side of there that we've taken the Island Company's tram because it's the one that needs the biggest turning radius. We modeled 4 of the biggest vehicles on the island that would go in the middle of the day in this intersection, because we're not concerned if something's 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's a big truck or something, because it'll just take the whole road to go through there. This is when all the visitors are on the island, and we've got a big tour vehicle coming through this Clarissa intersection and trying to make a turn without causing all this congestion. So that's why we picked this one. This is put in what is a piece of software called AutoTurn and AutoCAD. So in the design software, those are all the different grade areas there are finishing the turning movements with the wheel radiuses. And you can see in that left side there that we need all the way up to the wall to be able to make that turning radius. And if somebody was sitting in that stop, where that stop sign is on Crescent, ready to make a turn, we need to back that up. And so that, right now, they've got a stop bar there, and they're too close to the intersection. You'll see this in a minute. But so what I wanted to show with this slide is we modeled it. Proof of concept, it works, okay? So when I'm saying move the wall or I'm putting these geometric lines on a plan, we've proved it. We've proved it with a demonstration, we've proved it with an analysis. Okay, so then we go to the next slide, and if you look toward the left-hand top where you see the green there, you know, it's looking for some planners, so don't get too hung up on all the features. Really look at the gray area, the roadway geometrics on this. That's what's important. And that blue line underneath kind of let's see if I got a pointer here.
The blue line on Clarissa?
Yeah, on Crescent there. See, it's not giving it to me, but this area right here. See, nope, it's not doing it on the screen either. So, what it's representing is not the serpentine wall, that wall, that beige wall there. And what we're doing is we're straightening out from that curve. We're going to actually make a straight line back so that you can now queue cars up 60 feet of vehicles if you had to, so they can make a turn there and they're not stopping the flow of that 13-foot lane. So this is, you know, basically the layout, the geometric layout. You can see that it's taken some of the reverse curves out of it. And you'll see that because I've laid it out in the field for you. See those white dots? If you want to go out there today, tomorrow, and you want to look, this is the new face of curb. So face of curb is the face of that concrete as it hits the road there, not the back of it, the face of it. Those dots represent where that new curb would be, the face of it, and everything behind that would be pavers. Okay? So there is, along the businesses, here's that turn you were talking about, Mayor. Okay? You can see that it widens out that area, and this ended up, even in the demo, pinched. We knew that, you know, but we couldn't change this in the demo because it would have, as vehicles went over that plywood on that turn, it would have just been a disaster. It would have been kept on breaking through. So that's why by design, we did that.
But you're saying that that extra foot will continue?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And you can see it kind of zeroes out in that, if you look, there's a dot. When you go out in the field, you can look, there's a dot
In the
as it
crosswalk,
goes
too.
in and
Yeah.
ties right back into the curb at Clarissa.
Yeah.
Okay, here I'm on the other side, and on top of the wall, I got a dot. And as we move through slides, you'll see there's dots on the pavers out there. And so what it does, what I'm trying to say is, here's that curve. I'm standing right at that curve, the furthest part of that curve in the wall, right here at the very bottom of the slide. Now I've straightened out that whole reverse curve there. Okay, and now you can see the dots as I'm straightening that out. And that's where the new zero curb is going to be. That wall's gone, a new zero curb. And you can see it go through there. So that curb that's out there to the right now is a zero curb. Now I'm bringing it back in. Okay, so I'm losing pedestrian walkway. That's important. So I've gained it on the other side. I've put 26 feet of road. That's it. Now where do I gain it back for this side? So, and finally this ends up, you can see the dots, and it zeroes out right there by where the bench is. Okay? Now, this is where we gain it on the other side. See where the ramp is here and where the bike is? We take a line and go straight and widen out this whole area here and make that pavers. Where that little piece of beach right now, it's underutilized right now we make that pedestrian space. So what happens when you get to that intersection? Everything gets pinched, and everybody's coming at you this way, and there's people wanting to walk 5 wide down, having a great time. You're in a hurry to get to or from the mall, and so we need to expand that area out. I mean, and that seems like it's the highest and best use of that piece of real estate.
Let's remove the palm tree and that one
Well,
palm
the
tree.
palm trees, I think probably the best longest term, especially some of those palm trees are seen about the end of their useful life. I don't know if every one of them that we have in that needs to be removed. Probably more efficient too, and then find a better place for a replacement tree. But it's not like a deal breaker if they had to, But see that white line in the sand? That's my attempt to put a paint mark there, and that comes, and that attaches past the kayaks there
Other side of the
to where the ramp is. And so that's where we're gaining on the other side. So we take out the wall, put the zero curb in, and then we put a new containment curb on the side of the beach and extend the pavers out there. Everybody wins. Every mode wins on this design. So this was an old rendering when we put the grant app in, so it doesn't show exactly, but it was already paid for. The consultant had done this for us, so I wanted to bring this out just to give you a better visual. You can see the crosswalk there, you see the widened sidewalk. It doesn't have any barriers up there. It needs to have barriers along the side of the walk. And it doesn't have the wall in with that tangent or that straight line out. Just to imagine that, having that straight line out. But this gives you kind of a big picture of, what some of these areas could be, that it's widened. We've taken rearranged it in future phases as we acquire more funds. You can do things with benches, with opening up walkways, better crossings. Where we're focusing, though, is from the area of Clarissa intersection to where the frontage here at the trailhead, okay, with this phase. And that's what we think we can get done. And then the next budget cycle, hopefully we can get a little more money, we do another phase. This becomes build as you go, kind of lets people move into not doing too much big at once, that you get used to it. We've already pretty well established this system works in that reach. We're making all the corrections that we knew going into it. Like with the curve, we couldn't take the wall out on the demo, but we knew that it was deficient. We're correcting all that.
Looks like, if you go back,
Okay.
all of that space in front of the trailhead, it looks like double or triple what there is now, where's that space coming from?
So as we put in the new curb, which could be in the next phase along the trailhead, it would be where that barrier is right now, okay? And then that would all be pavers back there, public space, and they would still have that driveway. Here, let's go back a few here. Yeah, I guess I didn't point out. You see the trailhead there? That's a circle, that blue down by the trailhead?
Gotcha.
Right now, that's a circle. You see that we're lopping off. We're widening up because we know that's a deficiency too, is we need to have a wider throat in that intersection.
But you have something important inside of that thing, right?
Yes, that's Catherine Lift Station. That's the first sewer lift station, all of our sewer beach. Yeah, so it's like, that's a hard stop of trying to take that out.
Okay.
That's expensive, okay? So we're working around that. That's a constraint. And you see that the driveway will still exist for the trailhead to come out. That's really not the best design right now, but it will fix that up. But that was at least what we have right now. It's going to be something that they can get in and out of their driveway. We'll also probably roll that curb on that inside edge, so if they had to make a movement on there, if it was safe, they could do it. It's not intended to be a space they drive up on, but if they're having problems with one vehicle or another, something, logistics-wise, at least they're not going over a hard edge curb there. And you'll see some of those rolled curbs features when we finish up the intersection here at Five Corners. There's a lot of things you can roll up that are, would be difficult for a golf cart to go across, but, like a fire truck or commercial vehicle or something that has a hard turning radius, they're able to mount those things, okay? So it's flexible. So
I have a question for you while
Yes.
you're going through this too. The only wish list item I would throw out there, but I don't know spacing wise if it's ever a plausible space for the elbow, is the idea of bike lanes. How much does bike lane normally take up, and is that something that in a phase might be possible in the world of things?
It's 3 feet, but the reason that we put bike lanes on like mainland roadways, because look at the speeds.
Right.
There is no speed people probably go faster, but 20 miles an hour is our posted speed limit here.
Yeah.
And if, like in my Complete Streets presentation, that's part of it, I'll say it's only the, C-level bikelet, so the ones that are, maybe the smaller kids that wouldn't be out there, but an A-level, they would be aggressive, they would be right in the middle of the lane. It is a share of the road.
Yeah.
It is the speeds that you're actually going, especially with electric bikes these days.
Right,
That's
that's true.
so that's what, as we get to do the roundabouts out here, they'll be doing the same thing. And what the educational component will say is, don't get on that outside edge like you're riding on the edge of the road. You want to be seen, so you're going to be riding right in the middle of that and be part of that traffic flow. That's your safest space, believe it or not, for a cyclist in there, especially with the speeds we have, with most of the open-air vehicles that we have that you can hear and sense everything that's happening around you. That's actually what makes the five-corner intersection safer than it is right now. If we didn't have that and we had closed vehicles, everybody had their music on and not paying attention, I think we would have devastating effects in that intersection before now, okay? It's only because we're so unique here with our vehicles. So that's what we have for you, what we're trying to accomplish. Oh, let me get to schedule here. Okay.
So, but I have a question. So you said earlier that when you remove the wall, that's not the original serpentine wall, and I love how you just call that out to everyone that's listening. We don't have plans to put another bench or, put the wall back once we widen that curve. At this point, you're saying maybe later?
Yeah, so what we're intending is put the rope, once we get that zero curve there, and then we put the rope barricade back on. And at that point, we have more design discussions, and you see all the green space, and There is some things I got to show you as far as maintenance, the access to get to the ramp there, to get to the beach with our equipment. Those are constraints that we'll need to look at. And then we start working on what is the final barricade? What is the aesthetic improvements? Right now that we're doing the geometrics, so this thing works and it's solid, so that people not keep on hitting the barricades, and really it makes sense, and it looks good to this point, but it always can be better with those value engineering enhancements, okay? So as we get money, pay as you go. I mean, there is another grant cycle out there for ATP that's just opening up now. We were not successful last time. It's very competitive. We can apply again, but you know, these improvements we have out there, they can't just keep on existing. Doesn't look good, doesn't operate well. We need to move on, you know, with some of our own money right now.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because I know people like to sit along there, but, you know.
Yes.
We can
So,
get there.
keep our eye on that with the next, keep on the design so that we're ready to go. And actually, let's apply for another grant, you know, and see if we can.
And we were hoping to keep access to that ramp open.
Yes.
Right? Because
Yes.
with the South Beach project, we're hoping to incorporate that existing ramp into recreational access.
Yes.
And improve that, so we wanted access to that.
Right.
So, there's a lot of exciting things that are going to be happening besides what the improvements we're doing in this intersection with South Beach. I mean, imagine you'll be able to walk down there with a kayak and go right into the water without dropping in there.
Wow. Seriously, I've been here 31 years. That would be awesome.
Yeah, right, you know, at the edge of town, right here. Just boom, you're there.
Yeah, no, that's killer. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we have. You can see that we're trying to we have concrete crews because of Five Corner on island right now. We're trying to create, you know, an opportunity, if there was some fit, to be able to get in there and get this done, you know, at least the geometrics before Memorial Day, that we would have that opportunity. That's why we're bringing it now. If not, you know, there's really the statement at the bottom, our next opportunity is fall of '26. So we just, really, it's so sensitive to the visitors at this point when we have all the visitors on. It's just, we need to be ready to go when we have the crews on the island. Otherwise, it's a whole nother mobilization, especially with some of the concrete crews that we've identified that have come down from the school job down to our Five Corner job. Wow, they do great work, and they do fast work, you know. So if you could do that, and you get a local contractor here that's very interested in doing this project, you probably would have a good fit if there was an opportunity. So that's what we're trying to create here.
So I have a question. Somebody brought it up a long time ago, and we all kind of flinched about some kind of traffic light or something to that effect. I think you might have said it one time, you know?
I want the flip ones.
No. Oh, okay. So on that corner of Crescent and Clarissa, I don't really, doesn't matter what you put there, it's always going to be congested. How do you get the pedestrians to actually stop? Because they'll be coming this way, and then there's a few more, and then there's a few more, and as all the vehicles are lining up on both streets, is there any not too innocuous but effective way to tell people just stop?
So I guess it's when that occurred, define that. I think really we should define what that problem is, because we see it, but how much does it happen, you know, 24/7, 365? And then we go, it's 5% of the time. And when is that 5% of the time?
Well, or only turn it on during that 5% of the time.
Yeah, but so
Same by Coney, let's put
yeah,
one
I'm
there.
just saying, so what is the solution to that? Then we could come up with an array of solutions. Sometimes it's like, it's only during peak day when I get
peak
a
hours,
cruise
right.
ship and it's in the middle of the summer,
Right.
and that's 10 days, and that's for 4 hours and 10 days. And we come, okay, do we want to put a signal, or do we want to just hire a person that could go and
traffic.
just help them along? It could be even an ambassador is like, stay there, you know, move
I
through.
know, but the pictures that you show, of course, you took those pictures when there was nobody here. And we know that that's not how it looks
Yeah.
in real
Well,
life.
we've also talked about the person too, though. The sheriff's department says we don't have enough people to do it, and the city says we can't pay people to do that. So that's off the table. That's not happening. We've asked about that a billion times.
Well, to me, I don't want to Straight, that's totally off the table.
So
What?
that could,
I don't,
as
Okay,
long as
then
that's,
somebody find it in the, I really feel that we need to come up with something in those two spots on those highly congested days, because it's ridiculous.
well, I would think, because even a flashing beacon is expensive, but you're probably not going to like the look on our unique island of this flashing beacon, because you resist things like that. I mean, that's not really the island, okay? So we really get down to the safety of it, and we.
spike strips.
There,
They come up, they're about this tall.
so
And
this,
it'll be a countdown, 1, 2, 3, spike strip, and then when it goes back down.
I was always, when we,
I'm teasing.
I know you
so
are.
the way I approach traffic engineering is, like, if you put signs out, okay, pretty soon you get sign fatigue, okay? You can put a sign for anything. So start with a minimum, build up step by step until you come up with a solution. So minimum, I mean, is, if nothing else, is there some person, it's either a volunteer or a paid part-time person during those peak times, I would try that first and see that even that person could be able to talk to people, and it becomes more of really a unique island experience, is that this person's helping out. And just, I know when I was out there, I know when Code was out there and we were doing that in some of the bigger days, it worked great. I mean, it was like, having fun, doing, just looking at some of the crazy stuff happening, but.
It's like
you
the
know,
New York City cops with the whistles that we've all
Yes.
seen in movies and videos, that are just out there. Get one of those and put a cute little
Yeah.
outfit.
So I would start with that, and it always could lead
And a
you to
loud
something
whistle.
more.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I digress.
So, in front of you, we have the request to put the RFP out.
We've heard a wonderful presentation, and I hope the people at home are listening. And so does somebody want to make a motion if you don't have any more comments or questions?
I'll make a motion to authorize city staff to develop and solicit a request for bids from qualified contractors to complete the stated scope of work.
I'll second.
Second, call for the vote.
All ayes.
Thank you. There's no